one. Welcome to Lockdown Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, I would like to welcome the many viewers, not just from this room, but from many rooms around the internet. I'm your host, Paul Mooney, and not as one man said on Twitter, he looks like Robin Ince, but sounds like Brian Cox. I would also like to thank Kat Dabra for hosting last week's show whilst I was on holiday. I went to the garden. It was lovely. Before I introduce my lovely guests, I would like to say a quick disclaimer. This is in no way an official version of the amazing BBC radio show. It is not affiliated other than love. No profit will be made from this production as it is not an original idea of my own. It's been born out of the recent pandemic and stopped me going mad. I'd greatly appreciate the BBC not to sue me. I will be plugging my fellow guests if they have a YouTube channel, an online show, or anything they wish to promote. A promotion or a production after all this goes away, or they have a funding account. That leaves me to introduce my guests. We have the amazing Paul Aitchison.
Hey, how are we doing?
The stupendous Andrew Hobbs.
Hello.
And the beautiful Alice Sanders.
Hello.
Hello. The rules are as follows. The contestant will be given a subject for which they must talk on for 1 minute, without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Points are awarded for correct interruptions and awarded to the player for incorrect ones. Bonus points will be awarded to the player speaking when the minute has elapsed, or if it's an incorrect interruption, or if I enjoy the interruption. You may use the words that are said on the card, i.e., if the subject was the cat sat on the mat, you could say the cat sat on the mat is where the cat sat. So you could use the same words again. You may use small 2 or 3 letter words repeatedly. Hesitations are stopping or going and so forth. A repetition is repetition. I've just repeated repetition, so that explains what repetition is. And deviation is from the subject or from the English language as we know it. I've had to explain that quite a few times because, well, we watched last week's show and yes, never mind. Also, it's worth pointing out, performers are very polite to each other, and that's lovely, but it sort of defeats the purpose of the show. So if you do hear an interruption or you hear something like that, just sort of come in. Also, what objects do you have to hold up?
Elvis glasses.
Elvis glasses, marvellous. Alice?
Bottle of wine.
Bottle of wine. And Paul, you have?
Sort of one of these.
A mystic lamp.
Yeah.
You're missing Panto, aren't you? We all are. I wouldn't worry. We all are. Excellent. Seated to my left is the lovely Samantha, who will keep scores and will make a lovely ding when the minute elapses. Excellent. Right, so let's start the first subject. Alice, I'm going to give you 1 minute on the subject, an American in Paris. An American in Paris. You have 1 minute on the subject, an American in Paris. Your time starts now.
Well, this is quite an appropriate subject for me because in real life, I am a tour director, which means I take mostly North American students and their teachers and parents across Europe on educational trips. So I have taken many Americans to Paris. One of the things they say the most is how much people smoke in Paris. In fact, they comment on it in England as well. And I always like to say to them, just wait until you meet the French. Everyone is sitting in a cafe smoking a cigarette. Of course, also the Parisians are traditionally rude. Come on, guys.
Andrew, what was your challenge in the rules of just a minute?
There was a hesitation there.
There was a hesitation there, but well done. Andrew, you have 18 seconds on an American in Paris. Your time starts now.
An American in Paris is the title of a film about which a musical was adapted, which ran briefly in London's West End a number of years ago. It's not one that I've seen myself, but I hear that it was very popular.
Well done, you were speaking as the whistle went, and you get an extra point there as well as the whistle went. As the iPad started bleeping, I don't know. I know. Anyway, but well done. You get an extra point there, Andrew, for speaking as the subject ended. So, Andrew, it's actually your turn to speak, and I'm going to give you the subject. It's just not cricket. It's just not cricket. You have 1 minute on the subject. It's just not cricket. Your time starts now.
It's just not cricket is a traditional phrase associated with the game of cricket, but more widely in a spirit of fair play. Cricket as a sport is an honourable game, and its players are expected to conduct themselves in an honest manner. For example, were they to be given out, they should walk away from the field with dignity instead of protesting the umpire's decision, and to behave in any other way would simply not be cricket. It was a phrase most memorably delivered by such cricket commentators as Henry Blofeld, also known as Blowers, who in fact delivered this phrase on a song recorded by the Duckworth-Lewis Method, which was a band singing songs about cricket fronted by Neil Hannon of the Divine Comedy.
Oh, well done. You did it again. So you get a point and an extra point for going as the thing went. You're doing quite well. You are winning, it's fair to say, and both Paul and Alice are in a strong joint second place at the moment with nothing.
On 0 points.
However, don't worry, it's all good. So that should make that. Okay, so Paul, it's lovely to speak to you and know that you're here. I'm going to give you the subject of pantomime. We mentioned it earlier on. I know it's something dear to your heart, and something dear to all of our hearts. Pantomime, you have 1 minute on the subject of pantomime. Your time starts now.
Pantomime is one of the great British traditions, which very much has its roots in the commedia dell'arte forms of the Italians and later the English music hall. As a entertainment factor, it tends to keep theatres going for the rest of the year. It's pretty much a guaranteed ticket seller, and it has been known to have both high and low brow jokes in it. Often pantomimes use stories that are traditional fairy tale stories that often have very little right to become a pantomime. They use tales, they always input a dame, a leading lady, a leading man, and they find ways of sort of inserting popular music from that particular year. So anything from the Gangnam Style to the Crazy Frog will always make an appearance, and it tends to keep actors out of the red for the foreseeable of the year. Furthermore,
well done, Paul.
Yes, I was really right.
You did that. You get a point, 2 points there. Very impressive. Despite the fact you used the word story numerous times, and air and leading.
We're all
we're
all far too polite to call each other out.
Polite for this game, but well done, very impressive. But well done. First time doing a full minute, very, very good. Okay, well we're gonna move on to Alice. As we've sort of done around there, I will tell you the scores as we speak. Alice, you're in a strong, solid 3rd place. Can't take that away from you. You're in 3rd place at the moment. Paul, you're in 2nd with 2 points, and Andrew has 4. And we're going to the next round. Alice, I'm going to give the subject the zoo. The zoo. You have 1 minute on the subject of the zoo. Excuse me. Your time starts now.
The zoo, I find a vaguely weird conceit as a place to go to because it's a lot of animals trapped in cages. But recently I heard a story about pandas. Now, famously, they never have sex and therefore they don't procreate. And there's a big problem because they are endangered. But as everything's been closed due to coronavirus, and there have been no visitors to the zoo, the pandas have been getting it on.
Yes.
A repetition of pandas.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
true.
You're right. I was trying to think pandas and what the subject was, and then I realised the subject was the zoo. You're right. You're entirely right.
Although I was quite interested where that was going.
I was intrigued to see where we're going with that. Hopefully, Alice will get the subject back. Andrew, you've got 29 seconds on the zoo. Your time starts now.
The zoo is an abbreviated term for a zoological garden, which is a park area in which animals that would not necessarily live in that habitat are all assembled, usually in quite close captivity, although in a more modern zoo they would have an open plan free range environment to wander as they see fit. You might find all manner of wildlife in.
As the bell rang, and you get an extra point. Alex, what was going to happen to the pandas? Oh,
So the pandas, ever since no one's been at the zoo, the pandas have been boning. So it turns out the pandas just didn't like other people watching them, which is
They're
fair enough.
voyeurs.
It might be for some people, but
I'm
not
not
for other pandas.
pandas or any other animal, and if they don't want people watching them, that's fine. Oh,
Yeah,
well.
exactly. All they wanted was like a nice candlelit dinner and a bit of privacy.
Yeah, why not? You know, all the bamboo they could eat. There you go. Perfect. Right. Every day's a school day on this job. It really is. This is a job. Okay. Andrew, I'm going to give you the subject of Star Wars. Star Wars. You have 1 minute on the subject of Star Wars. Your time starts now.
Star Wars is a film franchise that was created by the filmmaker George Lucas, who made the movie A New Hope in 1977, starting at probably the most interesting part of the story and then completing a trilogy of other cinematic releases with The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. For many, he could have left it there, but driven by his own insane greed, he then created a prequel or trilogy of films which looked at such exciting subjects as Interstellar.
Repetition of trilogy.
Yes, that's fair.
Yes, you also could have had films, or you also could have had 7 in 1977. You really could have done. I checked this up today, but well done, Alice. You get a point there. You have 18 seconds on the subject of Star Wars. Your time starts now.
I am really not that fussed about Star Wars. And if I have to go on one more date with a man who wangs on about it for more than 2 minutes, then quite frankly, I may never go on another romantic occasion again. Honestly, the obsession with...
Well done, well done. You don't have to. You never have to go on a date. And quite frankly, at the moment, you're probably not going to either, because no one's going on a date. It's just not happening. Excellent. So, Paul, you have the subject, it's a kind of magic. It's a kind of magic. You have 1 minute on the subject, it's a kind of magic. Your time starts now.
It's a Kind of Magic is most known as the song by the legendary band Queen, obviously fronted by Mr. Freddie Mercury. I believe this was, in fact, the release in which the accompanying music video saw him dressed in a rather fetching leather skirt, if I have recalled this correctly. Mr. Mooney's face makes me think I may be thinking of a different Queen song, but that is by the by.
Yes,
the Red Wine.
Alice,
yeah.
Deviation, that's I Want to Break Free.
That's what I was thinking of.
That's right. That is entirely right. Alice, you have the subject of It's a Kind of Magic. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Another thing I don't like to hear men wang on about is magic, because I don't really care about it. Sorry, Paul. I have driven past what's that place in LA that everyone goes on about? The Magic Circle's headquarters.
Yes, Andrew.
Deviation, talking about places in LA.
What was the place in LA? Was it magically related?
Yes, it's called. What is it called? The Magic. See,
The Magic Castle.
The Magic. Thank you.
The magic. All right,
Yeah.
let's go with that. However, well, I'm going to give the subject to Andrew because you clearly don't like magic, and I'm appalled.
And also, could every subject theoretically become dating?
Yes, they could.
Right, then I'm using that next time.
All right, Andrew, you have 10 seconds on the subject. It's a kind of magic. Your time starts now.
It's a Kind of Magic is the title track of an album by Queen, which mostly features songs from the soundtrack of the popular 1980s action film Highlander.
That's it. We stopped you, but I was intrigued. I wanted you to get to Highlander. That was it. I really wanted to get to it. So you got a point for going as a whistle as the bell rang. So I'm going to give you all an extra subject. I mean, it's completely academic at this moment in time because Andrew's here. However, Paul, you're in third place with 2. Alice,
Finally got a point.
you've got 4 points. In fact, you're in second with 4 points. Andrew has 10. Andrew is very good at this game. I should point this out. Andrew's probably too good at this game. However, let's not worry about that. I am going to go. I'm going to. Yeah, Paul did. So I'm going to give you the subject, Andrew. The Big Apple. The Big Apple. You have 1 minute on the subject. The Big Apple. Your time starts now.
The Big Apple is most popularly a nickname for New York City in the United States of America, but it could also simply be used to refer to an item of fruit in a bowl that was larger than some of the other edible pieces contained within that crockery. Assuming that it refers to the urban conurbation aforely mentioned, that was a setting for numerous classic films such as Spider-Man and The Godfather, and is also a very influential city in the spheres of music and Broadway theatre, for which it is most famous. That is the place that we are talking about, and it
yes,
may
Alice.
Is it allowed to speak that slowly?
Yes, he is, but I'm going to give you a point because I like the interruption. And we have 1 second. So buzzers at the ready, guys. 1 second.
Wait, who's got it? He's still got it.
He's still got it. Andrew's still got it. You've got 1 second on the Big Apple. Your time starts now.
The Big Apple.
Yes. You know what? I'm going to give you a point for Paul anyway for just holding up the globe because I hadn't seen it. It's just nice to have you here, love. It really is. Nice to have you here. Alice, you have the subject. You have 1 minute on the subject. When Irish eyes are smiling.
Sorry?
When Irish eyes are smiling. You got that?
Irish eyes are smiling.
Yes.
It sounds like another dating story.
This sounds like another dating story. You have 1 minute on When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. Your time starts now.
Well, as it sounded like another dating story, why not? So, as I mentioned in a previous one, I'm a tour director, and I met a fellow person who had the same job, who was Irish, and we decided that we were going to write a television program together about tour directing. Damn it. Nobody noticed. Carry on.
What is your challenge? The rules just a minute.
Yes, the repetition of tour director.
Yeah, you also got the hesitation there as well.
It was an incorrect challenge because it was only tour I repeated, because it was tour director and tour directing.
I'll defer.
You said your competitive nature would come out, Alice. It really did. It really did. Do you know what? I'm going to give it to Paul. I'm going to give a bit of it. He's never played before. You kind of played last week, so I'm going to give it to Paul. You have 33 seconds on When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. Your time starts now.
There's a very traditional old folk song that originated in a place near Derry called Irish Eyes Are Smiling. It is a mellifluous tune that sounds a little bit like other Irish ditties. However, this particular Dublin-based
Yes, Alex.
entertainment.
Hesitation.
There was a hesitation.
Yes, there was, yeah.
You got in with 4 seconds to go. You got the subject back. When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, your time starts now.
So we spent months writing.
Well done. You were speaking as the bell rang. You gain an extra point speaking as the bell rang. So, Paul, final round. And just to let you know the scores. Paul, you have 4. You're in 3rd place. Alice has...
Is that good? Is that the best one? Is it good?
Yeah,
Yes.
Alice, you have 8. And Andrew, you have 11. So it's all to play for. Paul, you have probably a subject we're all quite good at the moment, or getting better at, cooking. You have the subject of...
I thought you were going to say masturbating.
We know you are. You have the subject of cooking. You have 1 minute on that, and your time starts now.
Cooking is the art of imparting potability, flavour, and digestive attributes to food. There are many ways of preparing food. The addition of heat is the most common one, and this is what we're most used to.
Yes, Alex.
I can see about.
Sorry, we've got a challenge there.
I wanted a dating story.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
You can't always get what you want, can you? Paul, you still have the subject. You have gained an extra point for being interrupted. You have 42 seconds on the subject of cooking. Your time starts now.
To ensure that my cooking story is vaguely dating related, I'll tell you what I currently have inside the oven at the moment. I'm cooking for my other half a lamb shoulder. This has been prepared with potatoes and rosemary and has been slow cooking for about 7 hours currently. The slow cooking process tenderizes and breaks down. I can see that. Yes.
Repetition of slow.
Yeah.
Oh. All right then. Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
Repetition of slow. Alice, you have 16 seconds on the subject of cooking. 16 seconds. Your time starts now.
The description of that lamb for me was erotic, because for me, food and love are the same thing. I have a story about going to a restaurant in Italy that my friend Sarah makes me tell over and over again.
Speaking as the bell rang, you gain an extra point there, Alice.
Oh, did you? Oh,
you know what?
I was writing there for over and over.
I really like that globe.
Not through.
So, and it also didn't matter. It honestly, does it matter? Well, it's happened again. This is 2 weeks running this has happened. Paul, you are in 2nd place with 6. And we have a joint 1st place, both with 11, with Andrew and Alice. Well done. Very impressive.
Hey.
She snuck up from behind, the underdog, the bloody underdog.
Also, Alice, you feel like you need to get out more. I'm not going to lie. Not
now!
We can't. You're right. We can't. Moving on. But well done, everybody. Very impressive. Before we leave, it just leaves me to thank Ian Mester for creating this game and the BBC for not taking legal action. I'd like to thank our scorer, Samantha. Thank you very much. Well done. Very good. She's just next to us here. Before we go, I'm just going to have a quick chat with our guests, see what we're up to and what we're doing and hopefully doing in the future. We'll start with you, Andrew. What have you been up to?
So we're running a lockdown guerrilla Shakespeare festival. So we're asking actors from all over the world to send in videos of them doing monologues and scenes. And then hopefully in a week or two, we're going to be doing some live plays via a similar medium to this.
Yep, it is good fun. I've done I've done one and Kat's done one of the Shakespeares, and I was involved with the trial yesterday, which was really good fun. Alice, what about you?
What am I doing?
Yes.
Do you mean show-wise?
In life in general, are you writing? Are you?
I'm writing a book, but I mean, who knows if that will ever be published or anyone will care. But I am doing a show next week, I think, the 5th of May. It's called Dear Harry Spock, and it's a fan fiction show, and they're doing an online version which involves, mostly it's people reading out fanfic pieces, but there's some sketch in there as well. So I'm in a sketch group called Donut Holes, and we are doing a sketch on that. So if you fancy checking that out, they are at Dear Harry Spock on Twitter.
Marvellous. And what about you, Paul? What are you up to?
Well, aside from cooking and video games, which seems to be taking up more of my life than it has previously, I'm currently working on my new. Yeah, well, I to be honest, I never used to play video games ever. So to me, it's like a new medium that I've just discovered. So it's quite nice actually, because I've always just sort of thought, oh, that's for children, and actually, it's nice to discover a whole new art form that's actually really quite sophisticated and just really good fun. However, work-wise, obviously, because like I imagine everyone here, we've suddenly our work output has dropped suddenly. So I'm currently writing my follow-up show to last year's Could It Be Magic, which was a comedy magic show, which was supposed to actually be doing quite a lot of shows at the moment, but obviously not. And thank you very much.
I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, you can check it out online, coulditbemagicshow.com. And it was a comedy magic show, and I'm making a new one, but I don't think I should say too much about it until it's done, because I find if I talk about it, I talk myself out of it, and so best finish it and then start letting people know about it.
Marvellous. Well, as with every other week, if you send me the links to everything, I'll put that in the bio. Now Alice has showed me how to put the things into bio. I will make sure that we get that out there as much as we can. Guys, thank you very much for playing this week. Those that are watching at home, it's difficult at the moment, but stay safe, stay indoors. There's lots of things to do. You could do some Shakespeare, you could write some books, you could play video games, you could do magic tricks. Only one of those I've done. I'll be honest with you. I think, my job being what it is, I get better at stuff. I haven't. You can just stay in and eat cake. That's also as well. Just stay in. That's all we ask you to do. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for playing and watching Lockdown Just a Minute.